That's Lou Gasparrelli's top alcohol funny car being towed into the staging lanes. He's going to face Jackie Stidham in a few minutes in round 2. But right now, we've got the national champion, Bob Newberry, going against Brett Williamson in more round 2 action in the funny car. Steve Evans and Newberry, well, he's off to a good start so far this season.
Absolutely. This is the initial event. He qualified #1. He was triumphant in round #1, held 1 week ago before the weather moved in. And Brett Williamson has to be very concerned racing Newberry. He is, after all, the Winston champion, as we said. And he has lane choice, Newberry does, compared their elapsed times from first round a week ago, a 6:01 to a 6:15. But Williamson has proved that he can run as quick as a 6:02 because he did that in qualifying. And in round #1 last week, beat Gary Selsey.
Well, Newberry is going at this whole campaign, Steve, as he said, really on a very conservative basis. He's not going out to set any big ETs. He's not doing anything other than to run as consistently as he possibly can and to just, as he said, take one round at a time. And I think that's really the only way he can be successful. Remember, this man has been a player in top alcohol funny cars for a long time, whereas Brett Williamson out of Campbell, California, not quite as well known, but a good, solid competitor.
Well, Bob Newberry, Schenectady, New York, he feels that a conservative approach is necessary because the nemesis in the class, obviously, is Pat Austin, who's the second winningest driver in NHRA history. But with Austin trying to campaign an alcohol car and a top fuel car, I think Newberry feels that's too big a fight to try to take and that will be his Achilles heel. So Bob's just going to go out and win as many races and rounds of races as he can to stack up the points. Parker Avenue, they call this in honor of the late police chief of Pomona, California, that was so instrumental in getting this racetrack going back in the early to mid-50s. Ralph Parker. All right, it's a great start. Boy, they leave right together. Williamson is in it, but not quite enough. Newberry outpowers him, a 5.97 at 232 to a 6:04 at 219 miles per hour. Newberry was off the line, just a wink ahead. That could have been the difference in staging even. For all intents and purposes, it was as if one throttle foot went down on both cars. And you can see Williamson, he was looking pretty good. Right now, the fans from the San Jose area where he's from were thinking, oh boy, this could be our guy. But then the Eastern invader, Bob Newberry, asserted himself, and it really wasn't very close. So Newberry moves into the semifinals. Brock is at the far end with him.
Well, Bob, a 97, not a bad way to start the day.
No, we're happy with 97. We qualify with 93, but it's a little warmer. You'll be a little careful on our racetrack, and if we can stay there and not make any mistakes, hopefully we'll be in the final, and maybe we can win this race.
Racetrack seems to be in pretty decent shape, and is the air going to get much warmer, or do you think it'll stay just about the way it is?
It stays pretty consistent here. Maybe later in the day it might cool off a little bit if we're fortunate enough to still be here. But the track, I think the heat's going to come on it pretty quick because the sun's been on it ever since this morning. So we're going to have to watch the track a little bit.
95, 97, think and win it?
Well, I don't know about if it'll win it. You're going to have to stay pretty close to that to stay in a race. And then I think when it comes down to the final, you're going to have to step on it a little.
Got to get serious. Okay, go get him, Bob.
Thank you.
The analytical mind of Bob Newberry. When you drive and tune, you've got to be thinking all the time. Right, here's a guy who's going to get a great big break right now. It is local favorite Lou Gasparrelli. He qualified 16th, which means he barely made the show. He was on the bubble and had to sweat that out. Only ran a 6:21, but he's got a bye because his competition, Jackie Stidham, apparently could not make the call. Gasparrelli from West Covina, California. Half the people in the grandstands probably have a vested interest in this car. They have the largest crew and the biggest bunch of friends and fans around their pit area of maybe any car. Gasparrelli, a former Winter Nationals champion, it's been a few years ago. He'd like to do it one more time. And I have a feeling Gasparrelli will run it all the way through. He doesn't have to. He can just idle down the racetrack. Not his style. Not on your home track. Lou Gasparrelli bounces his way to, oh, baby, a 5.96. He runs even better than Newberry at 235 miles an hour. He runs faster as well. So Gasparrelli is going to be a huge threat. Of course, this car will be, too. That's the nitro machine of Brooks Brown, getting some new bearings and a clutch adjustment. We'll see him a little later on.
We're back at Pomona, California for more of the NHRA Chief Auto Parts Sports Nationals as round 2 action of Top Alcohol Funny Car action continues. And Steve, the car that we see completing its burnout has probably dominated this sport, this particular component of the sport, really more than any other than Bob Glidden and Pro Stock.
Oh, absolutely. And he's the first car that's had lane choice that has taken the far lane. We're talking about Pat Austin, the Castrol GTX Oldsmobile bodied machine. And is that a beautiful car in the near lane? Oh, man. I mean, that is Mike Andreotti. That is, geez, one of the prettiest paint jobs I've seen in a long, long time. Going back to what I said earlier, in my opinion, these are the hardest cars to drive in all of drag racing. And I'm talking Pro Stock, Top Fuel, Funny Car, the whole deal. It's because they have the same drivetrain as the dragsters we saw earlier. Bigger engines at about 550 cubic inches, 3-speed transmission, but the engine is out in front of the driver. It doesn't have the amount of weight over the rear wheels, and Pat Austin well knows these cars move all over the racetrack. It takes a real journeyman driver to get one to go straight. Mike Andreotti out of Colusa, California, which is up on the Central Coast, is one of the better-known California drivers. He doesn't venture out of the state much. He can run 3 national events within the state, the 2 here at Pomona, the one up at Sears Point in August. Now, Austin, as I said, had lane choice. He qualified number 3, beat Tom Bristow in round number 1. Andreotti qualified number 6. He put away Craig Peterson in round 1, which was, of course, a week ago. A big crowd has returned here to Pomona. It certainly hasn't dampened their enthusiasm all of the rain. We've got a beautiful day and a beautiful race. Almost identical reaction times. Pat Austin, a lot of smoke out of the car, but still he runs low elapsed time of the entire event for Alcohol Funny Car at 5:90, 2:35. Andreotti, I told you he was pretty good, 5:98. He didn't surrender easily at 231 miles an hour. Now look again, I think we'll see some smoke out of the Austin car as it gets further down the racetrack.
Actually, Andreotti had him off the line by just a few thousandths, so it was almost a perfect start by both cars. But as you say, it's a 5:90 for Pat Austin, but it may be that he hurt something. You can see some smoke out of the car right there as they cross the line. So we'll find out. Maybe some troubles for Pat Austin.
Long, smoky burnout from Mert Littlefield in the near lane, a supercharger manufacturer by trade. He'll be up against another member of the Austin clan. This is Pat Austin's Uncle Buck. Bucky Austin from Tacoma, Washington, and he is one tough competitor on and off the racetrack. Bucky's not a guy you want to have an argument with, I guarantee you. Now let's go down to Brock and see what we can find out about the Austin car.
Well, Pat, Newberry runs a 97. You run a 90, so you got to feel pretty good about that at this point.
Oh, we feel real good. We got a little bit of I mean, something happened there. It started smoking. We'll have to look. It's got a little oil around the head gaskets. We'll have to take a look. But the object is to get by that round. That's what we did. So got 2 more to go today.
Good. But basically, the car feels stout. Nothing really hurt bad, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, it feels real stout. And we're just, you know, really, we had a late start this year. We didn't get any test runs due to the unfortunate deals that's happened to us early on. So this is really the 4th full run on the car, and we're real excited about it.
Better be. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Boy, Pat needed an emotional tune-up. He had a horrible top fuel crash in Phoenix just a couple of weeks ago, testing that car, which precluded them doing anything with the alcohol car. But obviously, they haven't lost much of their edge. Bucky Austin from Fife, Washington, lives right out on the Sound. As Bucky says, when the tide's out, the table is set. Beautiful place. Mert Littlefield from Garden Grove, California. Littlefield used to drive a nitro funny car and took a number of years off to field a very successful business manufacturing superchargers, and now he's back having a good time and doing R&D in his own product. You see poking out of the body there, the 1471 style GMC supercharger.
Well, as a matter of fact, he knocked off Randy Anderson in round number 1, a good, strong runner. Look at this. Littlefield got out really well and then breaks as Bucky Austin moves on to the semifinals.
Yeah, Bucky to 602, 231 miles an hour. It really wasn't in this one because Littlefield had a much better reaction time. No, those aren't the Alps. That's Mount Foley, just above Pomona Raceway. In the semis, it'll be Pat Austin up against his Uncle Buck. Pat will have the lane choice. And it'll be Lou Gasparrelli with lane choice over Winston champion Bob Newberry. The fans will like that one for sure. Back in the pits, there is Tiffany Hyland discussing her upcoming race with Larry Sutton, with her mom and the rest of the crew. I'm sure they're telling her, just don't be late, kid. Sutton has been the master of the Christmas tree with 2 successive hole shot victories. Well, maybe Tiffany's headed in the trailer to practice on one of those little portable Christmas trees. Right now, let's go down to Brockades with Bucky Austin.
Well, Bucky, we know it's going to be an Austin win the next time around, but Pat right now has got a little edge on you. He ran a 90 and you're a 6:01, so you got to find a little bit.
Yeah, I sure do. Yesterday we had some problems testing again, and so I think we're back to square one from where we were last week. Definitely has a performance edge on everybody. So, you know, I just got to do a better job of driving. We got to hop it up a little bit, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Going to be a great race no matter what.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks.
Bucky was referring to testing yesterday. Because of the week delay, NHRA let the racers come out and make some test and tune runs yesterday so everybody could get back in sync with the racetrack. Stay with us. We'll have more competition from Pomona.